some of my initial ideas for my theme, which is contrast between light and dark. I could choose the theme from a certain list, and I chose contrast between light and dark because I wanted to do something gothic. If you know me, if you've been on my channel before, you will know I absolutely adore fashion, and I myself am alternative, I'd say, fashion-wise and lifestyle-wise, you know, with politics and stuff. Anyway, this is my artist research. This artist I absolutely adore to this day, and he's really underrated. His name is Charles Everham Butchfield, and he paints winter landscapes, but it has this weird, like, ethereal, occultic vibe about it, which I adore. Then there's Samuel Painter, I think his name is, I can't remember, Ograti, who does these really cool, like, folklore-y, folk-tale-y wood carvings. Then we have Ruth Norbury, who is a textiles artist. She looks at landscapes and things. Then this guy, Max, I forgot his surname. I'm really bad at remembering names, but that is his work. I really, really like it. Rachel Wright, who does, again, landscapes with embroidery, machine embroidery. And I am not going to even try and pronounce this name. It is a beautiful name, but it is not one I want to butcher. I really, really love her art. It's super cool, and it almost tells a story, I think. Then I looked at Kumi Yamashita, I think, who looks at shadows, which is very on theme. And then obviously I had to look at Alexander McQueen and his one exhibition, Savage Beauty. I thought it was quite occultic. And then Ken Benson, who looks at ghosts and stuff. And you know me, I love ghosts. So this is my mini critical study one, which is where I analyse a certain artist of my choice and create a response. That was my analysis, and there's my written response, which I tied into my book. And then here is my physical response. I painted on some canvas fabric, a winter landscape, and I stuck on a Columbina because I wanted to theme this around Columbina. Oh, ignore, I just broke that. Some scratching. My next mini crit was on an artist from Instagram called Molly Coddle, sorry, and she drew Columbina a lot. So I inspired myself. You've probably seen this drawing a million different times of Columbina. I just think it is so iconic. And blood warning, sorry that was a bit late. It doesn't even look like blood, it's like bright red. But as you can see, it is Columbina chained to a cross, I guess, with a barbed wire. I'm really sorry if this is upsetting for you and you are religious. I am not religious, and I love the exploration of the occult and different beliefs. And this is my further research. I looked at folklore and witchcraft and the occult, and also I think winter landscapes. Yeah. Then this is my mini crit 3, I think, yeah, on Rachel Wright. And that's my response. I did some fabric, watercolours on the fabric, and then I couched on some wool. And it's not too great, but I did it really quickly because my first response my teacher didn't like, so she literally just ripped it out my book. Yep, that was the kind of teacher she was. Okay, do not look at this page, it is so bad, I really don't like it. But it is my analysis for Dofrati. And here's my response. I did some printing with lino. Lino is a type of plastic silicone thing. observational work, which basically you go outside and you look for things that relate to your theme and then you respond to them. I went to a chapel which also had a gallery nearby and a graveyard, and obviously, you know, I was looking at the occult and creepy stuff. I had to respond to it. So those were just some fabric cutouts, and then that's my bigger response. Columbina, and I did some stitching on her halo, which you can't really see, but the thought was there, you know what I mean? And that was the reference image I used. And that's my smaller response, which is a cross. I used a method called cut and slash, where you sew the fabric in like lines, and then you cut between the lines. I wish it had a more of a like decayed effect, but you know what, it doesn't matter. And there are just some little drawings I did, which are also responses, and some of the photographs I took. That place was really, really cool, and I'd love to go again someday. Leaves, some golden leaves. This is a reflection of the work I've done. Those are like my favourite pieces pretty much. Then I think the writing was like what I've done and what I want to do, and I just did some little doodles to make it look less blank. Here are my initial ideas for my final response. There it is again, gothic fashion, crosses, folklore, winter landscapes, and wings. Now this all ties together in my final piece, so stay tuned for that. This is my design brief 1, which is heavily based on Columbina. You can see the wings, the feathers, the lace, and the hairstyle is even similar to Columbina's. That would be it from the front. There'd be like ribs that I'd applique onto the front with rhinestone fabric or something. So very ethereal. And more blood warning, there is Columbina and she's next to a pile of blood. God knows how that got there. And then I did some machine embroidery onto the trees in this image. This image was a photo I took a couple of years ago. Then here's my design brief 2, which is what I end up going with. It is a poncho inspired by native Canadian culture, because in native Canadian folklore, owls are worshipped, and I looked at winged creatures and wings and angels and stuff, and folklore and owls and folklore, wings and folklore, owls and folklore, and also in native Canadian patterns they use a lot of contrasting colours, such as red and blue, or like cyanish blue, turquoisey blue, which fits in with my theme, and I went with that. Here is some developments. I'm finding out my favourite way to do the trees, and there's some machine embroidery that looks kind of like a wing, or at least I tried to make it look like a wing. There's a mix of techniques to make a tree. My teacher made me do that, and I really don't like it, but I just stuck it in my book because, like, whatever. That is my overall shape design I'm going for. And there's some printing. There's more tree designs, and I went with the one to the far left. No, the far right. Oh my god, I'm so dumb. This is my prototype. I made a prototype out of calico fabric just to check how long it needed to be and how it would fall and stuff. And then there's my time plan, which was not really stuck to, but you know, whatever makes me look good. Yeah, that page is pretty empty. We had to draw out the pattern pieces for God knows what reason. These were all my pattern pieces: the main poncho, the wings on the back, the hood, the like pattern I was appliquing on. There's the owl, an owl. Those are the trees that I would sew on, and acorns and pine cones that I later applicate on after printing onto fabric. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then the owl tufts, which look more like reindeer tufts, but it's okay. And this is my final design, which it turned out pretty much like this, maybe a bit worse. I don't really like how it turned out, but everyone's always like, wait, you made that? Whenever I wear it out, and I'm like, is it that hard to believe? That's the back with like the wings. When you spread out your hands, it's supposed to look like wings, because obviously the owl, the wing things, the wing creatures, the angels, you know. And I managed to tie in winter landscapes with the trees on the front too, which I'm pretty happy about. But yeah, that is it. That is my whole project. So I really loved that project, or just doing it. I loved the vibes. And I don't like my final piece really, but like it was fun. And all that work happened in God knows how many months. I think 4, maybe 5 months, but yeah. That is it. So